This is a question about the Freedom of Information Act. Parents and community send freedom and information requests with a goal of understanding communications about no-bid contracts that pay upward of $10 million. It is reported that the Freedom of Information Act, commonly known as FOIA, requests are not addressed. What will you do to make sure that SFUSD responds to the Freedom of Information Act requests for board and staff communications about these no-bid contracts that pay upward of $10 million to consultants with connections to charter schools and also in favor of school closures?
Yeah, so this is actually really important. I'm glad you're highlighting this because it's government agencies, for example, have to have right bids, at least 3 bids, I believe, if not more. And so, as at our company, we do the same. It's super, super important to do that. So, to be objective in the process in terms of how you select vendors and suppliers. If SFUSD is, I believe it is, because I remember looking at their list of vendors and suppliers, it's fairly large. Here at my company, I've got 1,950 suppliers. And so we do need to do a better job of consolidating that and making sure we get some savings and also, strategic partnerships around that. But that process needs to be thoughtful. It needs to include requirements and needs from the schools. It needs to have people to go through the evaluation, whether it's RFI, RFP, and otherwise, to make sure that that discipline, right, that process is objective and it's also visible and transparent, that we can see every step of the way. I'll give you a small example. All of you know there's a bond measure, I think Prop A, that's up for voting in this November, and it's $790 million bond that's up. And so as candidates, we all had a special briefing with the consultants that SFUSD had used or utilized to share with us what the details are. I was on a call with a few other candidates, not Virginia and Left Terrace, but others. And I remember asking a lot of questions because I asked them, I said, how did you come up with 790 million? Why isn't it 600 million? Why isn't it 800 million? Didn't really get a direct answer. But from capital projects I'm very familiar with, I've been doing them for a very long time, is that, capital projects are by default always, when you get the bids back, they're going to be significantly larger. You have to negotiate them down. And then the way it works is that you have a general contractor and then you've got subcontract and subcontracts beyond that. Every layer you go actually adds more margin. And the consultant is on top of that. So you've got the consultant who was briefing us. Then you got to, because I thought they were the GC, they were general contractor. No, we're not the general contractors, the consultants. Consultants, general contract, subcontract. And so every layer is actually added. And I wonder how we came up with that very large number. Plus, I think if you look at the projects that are teed up, I think there's a lot more scrutiny we need to look at as well, because there are projects that we can actually do across schools. The projects are listed under that 790 is per school for each individual school. So there are efficiencies and effectiveness things that we can take a look at within that context as well. It's all to say that I think it's important that there is transparency in terms of how decisions are made, both on the vendor side, as well as when we're talking about dollars that we're allocating for initiatives like this, which is significant, that we have a good methodology, a robust, objective methodology that we use and that we share, because these are big dollars. And again, these are taxpayer dollars we're talking about at the end of the day. And 790 is just the principal. It doesn't even count for the interest. So bonds basically are loans. And so that's a heavy burden to bear on our already deficit spending that we have in the school district. So
to figure out why the school district can't provide this information, whether it's a staffing issue, whether it's a systems issue, or other obstructions. Any of those issues is problematic, and we need to fix it and streamline it and be able to provide this information in a timely manner. As always, having been worked with nonprofits and nonprofits that get funding from the city, we're under the Sunshine Ordinance, where we have to show everything for if we have contracts over $250,000. And then and working for the largest Head Start provider, we have extremely detailed audits from the federal at the federal level. So there's no reason why SFUSD can't provide this information, and we have to figure out what are the barriers and what is the backlog, whether it's just a reluctance or or inability to provide that information.
I was really surprised to see this. I mean, $10 million is not a small number. I mean, there's obviously some corruption going on. You know, it's corruption is rampant. I don't know if you're following the news. You hear about it with the Dream Keepers initiative that's coming out now, and the corruption that went on there. You know, the head of the DPW, Nuru, you know, he went to jail for, I think, money laundering. You know, we need to get to the bottom of this and hold people accountable, or they're just going to keep doing it. You know, people have gotten used to just putting their hand in the jar, cookie jar, and walking away, and no one asks questions. So it's like what Min said, we got to ask questions. I mean, why aren't we hiring attorneys or private investigators or federal investigators, somebody to go after the school district? They should not be holding this information and not sharing it. That's just, in my mind, that's a broken integrity right here. Thank you.